everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Amy, and this week I canned potatoes in my Presto digital canner. I have never canned anything before in my life, so this is something completely new for me. I started by filling the canner with water to the fill line and filled the jars halfway with water. And then I let all that sit while I chopped up whole bunches of potatoes. I sped this up a lot because I am really slow at chopping stuff up. I used gold potatoes that I bought at the store, since I have not grown enough potatoes in my garden yet to do this with homegrown produce. Someday, I'm hoping to be able to grow enough potatoes that I can can my own, but for now, I'm happy to start learning this skill by using store-bought stuff. My husband also helped me with this first try since canning has been very intimidating for me, but I really want to learn how to do it. With all the potatoes chopped up, I started the canner on its warming cycle. This takes about 20 minutes, which leaves me plenty of time to do the next steps with the potatoes while the canner gets the jars ready. I chose the pressure canning option and set the timer for 40 minutes. This is the amount of time that the quarts of potatoes will need according to the National Center for Home Food Preservation book and website. I added the jars that I filled halfway with water into the canner and made sure the lid was in the locked position and the green latch was secured, and pressed the arrow button to begin the warming cycle. This cycle will heat up and sanitize the jars, so I don't need to do that beforehand. I just make sure the jars are clean going in and the canner does the rest. While the canner was preparing the jars, I rinsed the potatoes in a big bowl of water and slosh them around to remove some of the starch. The better you rinse them, the more starch is leached out of the potatoes, so it really depends on how much of the starch you want to get rid of. I put the rinsed potatoes in a big pot and poured in clean water until the potatoes were covered. I brought these to a boil and boiled them for 2 minutes before straining them again and putting them back in the big bowl to wait. I also rinsed out the pot and put clean water back on the stove to boil since I'm going to need this later. When the canner beeps and the display says fill jars, I removed the lid and used a jar lifter to remove the jars one at a time from the canner. You can see here that I'm struggling a little because I was really scared that I would drop a jar. So I'm fiddling with this for a while, but eventually I just had to go for it and used a glove just to hold the bottom. I poured the water out of the jar, and now it's time to fill the jars with potatoes. I spooned potatoes into the jars and left about 1 inch of headspace according to the instructions. As you can see, I am making a bit of a mess here, and I overfilled this jar a little, so I had to take some of the potatoes back out, but that's okay. This is a big learning process for me since I am completely new to canning. I'm still having a lot of fun though. This was way more fun than I thought it would be. I hope to enjoy it, but I actually really did have a good time chopping up potatoes, filling jars, imagining the things I would be able to make with these over the next few months. I added boiling water from the pot I started after parboiling the potatoes, as well as 1 teaspoon of canning salt. I did actually buy canning salt because I'm not well versed enough in salt types and grinds to wing it yet. It's something I will have to research and see what types of salt are usable for canning purposes. I used the tool to gauge my headspace since this is the first time I've ever canned anything, so I wanted to make sure I got it right. I also grabbed a chopstick and debubbled the jars before putting on the flat lids and rings. As you can see, I completely forgot to wipe off the edges before I put the lids on though, and I put the first ring on too tight and had to loosen it. The lids need to be finger tight only. The best way I've heard it described is to tighten just till you feel resistance and then give it a quarter turn with your fingers, and that is finger tight. Then I added the cans back to the canner, closed the lid, and hit the arrow to begin the next steps. The canner will heat up again, vent, come to pressure, and then count down the 40 minutes that the potatoes need to be properly canned and safe on the shelf. It can take a bit of time to come up to temp and reach the correct pressure, but it won't start counting down the actual canning time until it is at the right temp and pressure, so you don't have to worry about the jars not being canned for the right amount of time. The last step is cooling, and this can take a while, up to an hour and a half. After the cooling cycle, allow the pressure to finish reducing, and then give the canner another 15 or 20 minutes for good measure to avoid siphoning. Siphoning is when the liquid in the can comes out past the lid and ring because the heat or the pressure in the jar changed too quickly. You can see here I was impatient and one of the cans siphoned really badly. Here are the 4 other cans though, looking beautiful. I let them sit on a towel on the counter for 24 hours to ensure that they were sealed correctly. If any of them did not seal, like the one that siphoned really badly, I would just put it in the fridge and eat the potatoes within about a week. These 4 cans sealed perfectly though, and are now the first products on my canning shelf. How exciting is that? The other task we were able to get done this week has to do with our spices. We have these lovely and organized cabinets for the herbs and spices we use regularly and other things we want readily available and easy to access. But we also have this crazy monstrosity of a bin. It is full of bags and plastic containers. It is really difficult to keep track of what is in there and what is getting low. Since we have a habit of saving glass jars, like spaghetti, sauce jars, jam jars, whatever, we decided to change our storage method for all the overflow spices and get everything into jars on the canning shelf for storage instead of in the big bin. I found out that I was almost out of peppercorns, but I had 2 containers of red pepper flakes, and I was not actually out of onion powder like I thought I was. Since we use onion powder a ton, running out of that would be really unfortunate. I also used my little label maker, so I didn't have to try and remember what was what. It's nothing fancy, but it works great and it gets the job done. This ended up being a much bigger project than we originally thought, and I did not realize we had so many herbs and spices. I mean, I knew we had a bunch, but this is a lot. Except, we do actually use all of these, some quicker than others, but they do get used. So I don't really know if I could downsize them much. I could probably go through them and see. About halfway through, we had to decide what to do with some of the unopened bags of bulk spices. We buy our most used spices in bulk from Frontier Co-op, and we just love them. The quality is excellent. We love how they come by pound and packaged in these little Mylar bags. I'm not sponsored by them or anything because I'm very much a YouTube noob. We just love their products a lot. We decided just to keep them in their bags in a small container on the shelf with the bottled spices, and we'll just open and transfer them if we need. We also haven't opened the tientsin peppers yet, and we just kept them in their original package as well for now. Then, back to the craziness. We also had to pull some empty canning jars because we ran out of saved store-bought jars, which I did not think was possible. We also put the store-bought spice mixes in jars because I do plan to make them myself when we use up the store-bought mixes like taco seasoning, Montreal seasoning, mesquite barbecue rub. We really like them, but I could make them at home just as easy and probably cheaper, so we figured having already labeled jars would be really convenient. By now, it was getting pretty late, and we were getting pretty tired and very sneezed out. But this ended up being so worth the effort. It is so much better having these on the shelf instead of dumped in a bin. It's so easy now to see what I have, what is low, what I have a ton of. And spices, they just look really pretty on the shelf in jars. It's just great. Lastly, and the reason why we did not get a ton done this week, is an introduction. Meet Charlie, aka Charlie Brown. He is our new arrival, our new little dude, and is he not just the cutest, most adorable thing? He is a chocolate point Siamese mix, and we adopted him from Hermitage No-Kill Cat Shelter here in our town. He is about 13, 14 months old, so he's still very kittenish, and he just loves playing with anything he can get his little paws on. Here he is discovering the joys of having his very own little pile of catnip. His most favorite thing to do is ambush us when we come around corners. He jumps out with his legs all up in the air and then runs away as fast as he can. Look at those absolutely beautiful blue eyes. Charlie also has a donut tunnel, and he always wants to jump out from the tunnel to scare whoever happens to be walking by, be they other cats, people, doesn't matter. He just loves to ambush. He loves to cuddle with his dad and keep him company making biscuits when dad's playing a game. Our little lady baby is really happy to have a little brother, as you can very clearly see here. And our 18-year-old Casey has been very get off my lawn about the whole situation, like the cranky old man that he is. But he'll come around, because seriously, how can you not just love this little guy? I mean, just look at that face. Thank you so much for watching my video this week. Please like and subscribe for more Charlie, more yummy food and garden fun. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you here again next Sunday. Bye!